The iron chains bite deep into the tender wrists of the innocent. On the shores of a mythical kingdom where the grey water crashes against black rock, a scene of profound despair unfolds. Princess Andromeda stands bound to the desolate stone, the cold spray lashing at her feet. She awaits a death sent from the darkest depths. She has committed no crime, yet she is the sacrifice, an offering to a monstrous beast rising from the churning waves. The people watch from the cliffs, their faces etched with horror, helpless against the wrath of a god. But look to the sky. Flying across the heavens comes a figure, weary but armed with divine gifts and a terrifying secret. The question hangs in the salt-heavy air: will the strength of a demigod be enough to shatter the chains of fate, or will the sea claim its prize? For most men, slaying a monster whose gaze turns the living to stone would be the end of the story, a ticket to a celebrated retirement. But for Perseus, son of Zeus, the road home is not a path of rest, but the beginning of an even greater trial. He flies high above the world, fresh from his impossible victory over the gorgon Medusa. Yet, as he passes over the kingdom of Aethiopia, he looks down upon a land crippled, trapped between a flooded earth and a sea that holds only death. To understand the doom hanging over this coast, we must look to the vanity of a queen. Queen Cassiopeia was a woman of legendary beauty, but in her pride, she grew arrogant. She dared to boast that she and her daughter were fairer than the Nereids, the immortal nymphs of Poseidon's court. In the ancient world, there were few sins more severe than a mortal comparing themselves to the divine. The Nereids took their grievance to the sea god, and his fury was swift. Poseidon unleashed a flood to ravage the lands and sent a colossal terror, the Cetus, to patrol the coast, ensuring no ship could sail and no life could flourish. The kingdom was brought to its knees. Desperate, King Cepheus sought the oracle of Ammon only to receive a sentence of unspeakable horror. The gods demanded blood for pride. To appease the ocean, the king and queen were forced to chain their own daughter to the rocks. Imagine the agony of that decision, to sacrifice an innocent child for the sins of the mother. Perseus, descending from the clouds, sees the young woman. At first, her beauty is such that he mistakes her for a marble statue, until he sees the tears streaming down her face. He lands, his winged sandals touching the earth, and learns the tale of woe. As they speak, a deep roar echoes from the water. The sea churns violently. The Cetus approaches. Seeing the terror in the princess's eyes, the hero's resolve hardens like steel. He flies to the weeping parents and makes a bold proposition. "I am Perseus, son of Zeus," he declares. "I will save your daughter and your kingdom, but in return, I ask for her hand in marriage." The parents, resigned to loss, readily agree. The pact is sealed. The hero has his cause. He turns to face the water. The beast that emerges is a nightmare of the deep, a living engine of divine vengeance. As the Cetus charges toward the bound princess, Perseus launches himself into the air, a blur of motion on the wings of Hermes. He does not wait for the beast to strike. Diving like a falcon, he uses his incredible speed to fly circles around the creature's massive, thrashing head. The monster, enraged by this gnat that dares to sting it, snaps its jaws, trying to pluck the demigod from the sky. Perseus draws his divine sword, a blade tempered by the gods, and plunges it again and again into the monster's hide. The water turns red as he carves deep wounds into the Leviathan, an aerial dance of death. But the beast is vast, and its rage is fueled by the sea itself. Steel alone may not be enough to halt a curse sent by Poseidon. Perseus realizes he must unleash his ultimate weapon. He shouts to Andromeda and the onlookers to avert their eyes. With a steady hand, he reaches into his satchel, the cabesus, and draws out the severed head of Medusa. Even in death, the Gorgon's face is a mask of tranquil horror, her hair a writhing mass of vipers. Perseus swoops down directly into the path of the charging Cetus. The monster fixes its gaze on the hero. In that split second, the massive eyes of the beast meet the dead, open eyes of Medusa. The effect is instantaneous. The roar is choked in the creature's throat. A wave of unnatural stillness washes over the mountain of muscle. A grey, stony color spreads rapidly across its body, overtaking the flesh. In seconds, the living instrument of a god's anger transforms into a colossal statue, a silent monument to its own defeat. The beast sinks, its petrified body becoming a jagged island. The battle is over. Perseus shatters the chains and takes Andromeda in his arms. He has faced down the wrath of a god and won. The kingdom erupts in relief. The palace is filled with the sounds of a magnificent wedding feast. Music and laughter chase away the shadows, but the gods often weave new threads of conflict into the tapestry of peace. As the festivities reach their peak, the doors burst open. Framed in the doorway stands Phineus, the king's brother, flanked by armed soldiers. Phineus had been betrothed to Andromeda, but stood by and done nothing while she faced death. Now that she is safe, his pride is wounded. "I have come for what is mine," he bellows. King Cepheus tries to reason with him, but the man is deaf to honor. Phineus hurls his spear at Perseus. The hero dodges, but the banquet hall explodes into chaos. The wedding feast turns into a bloody battlefield. Perseus fights valiantly, but he is vastly outnumbered. He realizes that honor and steel will not save him here. He shouts a warning to his new friends, "All who are my friends, turn away your faces." For the second time, Perseus reaches for the darkness at his side. He draws out the head of Medusa. As Phineus and his soldiers lunge, Perseus holds the gorgon high. One by one, the attackers freeze. Their expressions of rage are captured for eternity in cold stone. The clash of arms falls silent. Phineus, seeing his men turn to statues, falls to his knees. The arrogance drains from him, replaced by the terror of a coward. He begs for his life. But Perseus feels no pity for treachery. "I will grant you a lasting monument here," he says. He forces Phineus's head up to meet the Gorgon's gaze. The traitor becomes a stone statue, forever kneeling, forever fearful. With all threats neutralized, the union of Perseus and Andromeda finally concludes in peace. They journey to Seriphos, then Argos, and finally Tiryns, where they found the great city of Mycenae and establish a dynasty that will produce Heracles. History remembers Perseus for his courage, but the gods honored their story by placing them among the stars. To this day, the constellations of Perseus and Andromeda shine near the vain Cassiopeia and the sea monster Cetus, a celestial reminder of the battle that wrote their names in the stars themselves. Subscribe to Saga Weaver, where ancient warriors face impossible choices.